What's good, everybody? Welcome to the Closing Beat, different edition here. I hate it already, I can tell you, so we'll be switching back to the other way here shortly. Was just trying to do something different to get rid of all of the, the other wall has a lot of stuff on it, so we were trying to do something different. Anyways, let me know what you think. If it's your first time watching us, I'm Dustin Tibbetts, financial advisor with Jazz Wealth Managers. We're financial advisors. That's what the shirt says. And so we do this daily update just to give you an idea how the stock markets did for the day, maybe some news you might want to pay attention to that has to do with individual stocks you may own or stocks you're thinking about buying or investing in. So if you look at the screen off here to the left, Monday started off with a mixed market. You got the Dow and the S&P lower by basically 0.5%. The NASDAQ was positive by 0.25%, all of that mainly coming from China. The Chinese tech stocks that are in the NASDAQ. China had a good night overnight, up about 4%, which, by the way, if you hear about this in the headlines or anything, keep this in mind. In a downtrending market, the up days tend to be the biggest, which is something you wouldn't think of. Go back and look at any downtrending market overall, and the up days tend to be bigger than when you have an uptrending market. So that's probably what you're seeing here in the Chinese markets. They're trending lower. China's not doing well. And so they had a 4% night overnight, and most likely that's just the sort of pops inside of the downtrend. So I wouldn't read into that too much. Anyways, you can see the markets there on the screen. Actually, we got the chart over here off to the left. We put that up from time to time to show you the minute-by-minute performance. It's really not that important if you're a longer-term investor. It's just kind of nice to see over here how the markets tried to go positive. You know, it tried to go positive for the day, couldn't do it, came back negative, tried to go positive again. You could see it there, went back negative. You could see that this market is really pretty weak in the short term. And so what that means for me is if I see the markets fall through the rest of the week, I wouldn't be too surprised. You can kind of feel the weakness there. Now what I'm going to do is go over to the charts here for just a second. We're going to take a look at the financials. So if you look at the financials today, that was the weaker part of the market. And I always say, if you want the market to go higher, you need the banks and you need the tech stocks. And we sort of had the tech stocks today. Well, we did have the tech stocks today, but the banking stocks were pushing to new lows as the tech stocks were pushing to new highs. That's always going to be an issue and hold the overall S&P 500 back. You can see on the charts here, here's the daily chart of the banking stocks as a whole, the big banking stocks, and they're pretty weak. So if they break to new lows, you really wouldn't have a meltdown, right? You wouldn't really think, oh my God, what's going on? You can see the weakness ahead of time. And so I would just point that out, that if the banks finish lower on the week, if you see tech stocks roll over, if you see some of these weak sectors continue to sell off, I really wouldn't worry about it too much. If we take a look a little bit closer into oil, there we go. Oil and energy stocks, they sold off a little bit today as well. Saudi Arabia is thinking about pumping more oil. They said something about 11 million barrels a day. That would be a record for them, by the way. But they could go as high as 12 million barrels a day. That just held the price of energy stocks lower on the day. Oil stocks, things like that. If you were to actually look through the S&P 500, some of the weaker stocks on the day happen to be in the energy and oil space. Lots of earnings going on in there, so you do see a lot of earnings stocks as well. For that reason, Halliburton, here's a good example. Halliburton reported earnings. They were okay. They basically beat earnings and revenue expectations. They made some comments about a weakening consumer, and so the stock price was already hit. Add that to a day where there was already going to be some weakness in the price of oil, and that was just bad timing on their part. So actually oil finished up just a touch on the day, but still weak overall, broad base. Go across all of the energy sectors there. I'm sorry, all of the energy stocks. If I take a look, the pot stocks, they sold off aggressively today. You got Tilray down 15%. If you follow these names, Canopy Growth was down 11%. Those are aggressive moves, by the way, to the downside. So if that's something you're following, something to pay attention to there. Hasbro, their stock actually finished only down 3% on the day. The stock was a lot lower. They said that Toys R Us did hurt them a little bit when they closed, so that some of their earnings were affected by that. They did mention that Sears bankruptcy wasn't going to have an effect on them. However, investors were like, look, I mean, it's still having an effect, right? So Hasbro, the toy maker, down a little bit on the day. You had eBay break to new lows, actually. That came up on the new 52-week low scanner for me. So what all that means is the stock has hit new yearly lows. It did that the other day when they released earnings. It basically just carrying over today. Not when they released earnings, sorry. When PayPal released earnings. So PayPal last week, they had their earnings come out, all great and everything. But basically, PayPal said the transactional volume from eBay was lighter. The actual revenue that they generated from eBay was lighter, and that had a lot of investors thinking, hey, maybe eBay's not doing the business that they should be doing over there. And so that stock just making new lows today. Just a simple one to point out. A couple other things in the news. You got Netflix down 1%. They're raising another $2 billion. Remember, they take on debt to build the content that they have. Not like the infrastructure, but they take on debt to make the TV shows. I got a chance to tour Paramount Studios last year, and the tour guide was like, from here to the end was all Netflix studios. And we got to go into like Frankie and Annie's studio set and everything. Big money, man, big money. But that's their model. They take on debt. They issue debt in the form of going to the bond market. And then they go and produce their shows. They're up to $5 billion taken on in this debt. So, something to keep in mind. You're really betting on this content sort of taking off there. Intel was upgraded by Nomura today. That analyst does pretty well. 57% success rate, 14% total profit on all the gains from the positions he has. He said that he thinks Intel is going to be the only one to raise their guidance going forward. This is all earnings coming up this week, so I'm sure we'll cover it more. No need to spend too much time on it. CBS, unfortunately, they had an interim CEO, and he has health issues, not good ones either, so he's going to step down. The guy that used to run Take-Two Interactive, this stock, TTWO, that guy's going to be taking over as the interim CEO. CBS is going to be in the news a lot more. It's something we'll probably talk about. They're probably going to be one of those we find out somebody's bidding for them to take them over. Some sort of transaction there. You could just smell it. I mean, it may be a while from now, but it's coming. That's a story that's been brewing. Anyways, Kimberly-Clark, they had earnings today. Earnings, revenue, everything came in better than expected. The only issue they had was some currency translations. They said there's going to be issues there. Should only hurt them for about 1 quarter. That was enough to get investors to head on out. They also got a new CEO, by the way, if you care. A couple more. Chipotle up about 0.5% today, upgraded by RBC, and this guy has a really great track record, 70% success rate, and he has a 9% gross profit at the moment for all the calls that he's made. He thinks that the changes they've made to their electronic delivery system and the changes they've made to their menu are actually going to be good this time, and somehow everybody's going to come back. Interestingly enough, there was a report that just came out today on where teens are spending their money restaurant-wise. Chipotle was not in the top 3, so I don't know. We'll see. Square, the stock was higher by 2.25% today. Just thought I'd point out that the CEO, Jack Dorsey, he's now sold $12 million worth of shares scheduled in October. So far in this October, was it? No, 20 million. He's already sold $20 million worth of shares here in just in October. He has been selling off shares since about August, so that's something that eventually will make the headlines. Hey, I know these are all scheduled. These aren't like panic sells or anything, but why is he selling so aggressively and just starting in August? So he obviously, millions of dollars, by the way, if you look up these transactions per transaction. So very, very interesting there for him. Lastly, what I want to point out, hey, it's earnings season, so I'm going to go ahead and pull this in. It's not perfect yet. We're still tweaking it. But you got Caterpillar reporting earnings. They hit 52-week lows today, or hit lows, almost hit 52-week lows. So Caterpillar, very, very weak going into earnings. Also very, very extended. It did hit new 52-week lows today. So that's going to be a big focus for earnings coming up tomorrow. McDonald's, if you see on the charts there, that's the second one in line. McDonald's, the question is this dead money or not, right? McDonald's has really had slowing same-store sales growth. Just overall, the company's like, they're not attracting. McDonald's was not in the top 3 restaurants for kids or teenagers. So that whole next generation, everyone's watching McDonald's every quarter to see if they could still grab that money from these people. and they haven't been very successful. So we're going to see. We'll find out tomorrow. Capital One, also a stock that's in kind of sell-off mode. If you look at the chart of that one, it's back towards lows along with the rest of the banks. So that's going to be a very interesting one. Lockheed Martin, the defense company, with all this Saudi Arabia talk, you know they're going to work something in on that one. And then I put Harley Davidson in there because that one had broken to new lows already. It is kind of extended in the short term. They have a lot of sort of political news going on there, tariff news. So that's going to be an earnings stock that everybody focuses on. A lot of people think they made the wrong decision with the recent shift they did there. We're definitely going to find out in the earnings tomorrow. And then we had semiconductors higher today. So Texas Instruments was higher by, well, you can see it, 1.5% on the day, and they have earnings coming out tomorrow. That's going to set the tone for the rest of Intel and AMD, which was also higher. AMD had a strong day today, right? AMD almost up 6%, but look at what it lost on Friday, so it's all comparable. And then Verizon, kind of a slow and steady one, but if you look at the chart of Verizon, it's a possible breakout there, and so a decent earnings report might just help fuel that breakout and make it more convincing this time. So certainly something I wanted to point out for you if you're paying attention to it. That's really all I have on the list today. Thank you for putting up with the new wall today, but we are not going to be using it going forward. I don't like it. I just don't like it. It doesn't look good. I like that the graphics stand out a little more, but I just don't like it, guys. I'm not feeling it. Matthew says not feeling it either. Yeah, no problem. Hey, Jobo, there he is. Yeah, nice. Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, your pot stocks all aggressive. No. I'm not allowed to make suggestions on what you should do. All I can tell you is these companies are priced to perfection. You are assuming that these pot stock companies are going to be more successful than Amazon as far as dominating their industry. There are many pot stocks to choose from. How do you know which one is going to be the one that dominates? Their valuations at the moment are absurd. So I've said that in every video there. Be very, very careful with investments. Now I know there's a lot of traders in there. You guys are making your way. You got to go where volatility's at. So if you're a trader, you got to follow that volatility. I can't blame you at all. But investors, be careful. Be careful. Look at how much these companies are valued at relative to how much they sell. Then ask yourself, if I started a company and I only made this much money, would I be valued at this much money? No, absolutely not. Top 3 restaurants. The first one was Chick-fil-A. The second one was Starbucks. And the third one was, oh shoot, I can't remember the third one. It was Chick-fil-A and Starbucks, the top 2. I think Chipotle was not third. God, who was it? Oh, I won't take up your time. Look it up. It just came out minutes ago, actually. Do you think the NASDAQ bottom is in? No. McDonald's needs better Happy Meals toys. Man, I've been saying that for years. Yeah, for sure. Took you didn't even notice the new wall. That's okay. You won't even miss it. We're switching back tomorrow. You think Uber could have a huge breakout for their IPO? Depends on valuation. Right now, they are pricing themselves aggressively. And I don't know if you follow the IPO market, every week I write an article. It goes out there for people on IPO stocks, the new stocks coming to market. This week, by the way, Yeti is going public. I don't believe it was today. Nope, not public yet, but Yeti, the ridiculously priced cooler and drinking cup thingies that you could just get at Walmart for $1, they're going public. And anyways, valuation is key, what they're trying to raise and how much insider action they have. For example, there's an IPO this week where Warren Buffett's company is buying up half of it. They've already committed to more than half of it. And so to have that support at that valuation justifies the valuation to the public. It depends on what Uber does as far as their valuation. Last check, it was $120 billion, but they're still putting things together. So you're going to have Uber and Lyft. I think Lyft was coming out at like $12 billion or something like that. So valuation is key. People aren't falling for it. You watch these IPOs every week. They are not falling for those high valuation speculative stocks or what they call blank check companies. So quick lesson, if you gotta go, you gotta go. But blank check companies are basically a company where someone with some industry clout, right? Somebody who's successful in their industry says, I would like to start a company solely to raise money to buy other companies. I'll give you an example. We are financial advisors. We run an investment service, right? it would be as if I became somehow famous or more popular in my industry, which I'm trying, guys. I'm really trying, right? So it'd be like if I became well known for what I do, and then I said to the markets, I would like to start a separate company. We'll call it Jazz Acquisitions, and I would like to raise $100 million, but I don't have any real reason for the money. I'm just raising it. I want you guys to write a check, they call it a blank check, so that I can take that money and do with it what I think is best. And then they ask, well, what do you think is best? And you go, I don't have to tell you. I would like you to invest in me as an IPO because of that. And so there's a lot of these out there right now. This week there's a Chinese one where the guy hasn't even really specified what he's going to do with the money. I think it was healthcare he thought about. Anyways, he's basically saying invest in this IPO, give him the money, he knows what's best to invest in, but it's not a real company. There's no earnings, there's no sales. It's just a guy asking for $100 million. So you got to be really careful with these IPOs. I didn't mean to go off on a little rant there, but I do not trade IPOs I never have. A stock has to be open for at least 200 days for me to consider it. That is my hard and fast rule. So, sorry, I got off on a little tangent there. Tesla, there's not going to be much to say about that one until it breaks below 250 or starts to move up and away from it. It has not done that. I think the support traders at 250 are very anxiously awaiting that. Watch what happens, by the way, if it goes under 250. Right now, there are people placing stop loss orders or maybe their sell orders right under 250. And so if it breaks that, now Tesla is a big mover, so by like $1, if it breaks it, watch how many orders just go and hit the market. I'll try to pull it up or record it if I see it happen. Maybe I'll set an alert, see if I can get it to happen, and show you all those orders that go through. Those are going to be your stop loss orders. So, Chinese stocks, yeah, look, this could be just the beginning here for these Chinese stocks. If you look at like ASHR, FXI, some of those stocks in there, they just recently broke down out of a range there. Can I actually pull it up? Look at me, I still know what I'm doing. Here's FXI. So this is your large cap Chinese stocks. These are going to be those bigger names that we're all familiar with that also probably trade over here. This just recently broke down out of this range, and if you go out further, there we go. You can see that the only support area right here is just what Fibonacci numbers that people like to use. So if you're a Fibonacci trader, you see that 55% retracement, then that's something that those people are going to look at. But how many people actually look at that? So you may see a little bounce in here, but you see what they're doing over in China. The government, their treasury, everybody out there is talking good stuff about China because they're trying to get everybody confident again in their market. And that's a little worrisome when they do that. Isn't the blank check method regulated? Yeah, it certainly is regulated. Yep, it is 100% regulated. It's 100% legal. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just that investors in good times will throw money at things like that and give it a shot. For an example, there was one, I even got put on their list because I was like, hey, keep us in mind. But there was a company that started, they became an IPO and launched for this. They had no company, they had no product or anything. Their thing was to raise a bunch of money to go invest in financial technology companies. That's it. That's all they were going to do. So you were essentially betting on those people who started this as being people that know more than you about financial tech companies or fintech companies. And I believe they were quite successful in raising the money, actually. But people are getting a little bit more particular now. And then the biotechs, by the way. There's always a couple biotechs every week. People are getting more particular on those, less willing to take risk on that. Not sketchy. I mean, it's working within the rules to put the advantage in your favor. Do you agree with the panic news about the bear market about to start? I don't care. I honestly don't care. If you're a trader, then you hope something like this continues where people are, oh, is it going to drop? Is it going to bounce? Is it going to drop? Is it going to bounce? Because if you're an active trader, you need that to make money. There's been many times throughout the last 9 years where the active trader hasn't had a lot to do. If you're the long-term investor, then you kind of hope the markets fall. I mean, I've been teaching my customers that for about 2 months now, just saying, look, we want the markets to fall if you're a longer-term investor. Of course, you want to buy at cheaper prices while you're getting started. And then when you have a big pile of money, then you want the markets to rally. So I really have no concern if the markets do fall. Personally, me as an individual investor, I hope they fall very slowly for a very long amount of time so that I can just keep buying. That's it. I want them to drop. Kimberly Clark, yeah, we covered that one today. They had earnings and revenue were better than expected. They have currency issues that they reported just as a one-time, not even a charge, just as a one-time sort of headache that they're dealing with. That's why the stock was a little bit lower. And also they got a new CEO. Is this the one that I meant? Yeah, they got a new CEO as well. So a little bit of volatility in that name today, down 3.5%, and that's about it. Well, hey, anyways, that's all I have for you. I appreciate your patience and I appreciate you watching. If I helped you in some way, like I said, I'm trying to build my image within the financial community, not the general public, within the financial community. If you'd hit the subscribe button, I'm hoping to use all of this data and everything that I've done so far to get in front of people and be able to talk to them at financial conferences, maybe a few news channels, things like that. And so there's a lot of conferences scheduled for next year. And so I'm just going to keep bugging you. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, you could turn the bell off if you don't even really like me. Just hit the subscribe button so that I can go show when I do these conferences. I'm going to hopefully broadcast it too. How people care about their investments. That's going to be my topic. How people actually do care and do want to learn about their investments. So if you get a moment, I appreciate it. That's all I'll ask of you. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. Happy Monday, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow for the Doe Show. We're going to continue talking about your plan, your retirement number. Very, very important. I want to have the whole world know their retirement number. And so we're going to cover that tomorrow on the Doe Show, 1 o'clock Eastern Time. Thank you, thank you. We'll talk to you then.
Why should you choose Jazz Wealth as your retirement or long-term investing service? Our portfolios are managed by us, not some faceless mutual fund manager. Our private classes will teach you everything about investing and getting your dough straight. Best of all, our fiduciary standard means your best interest comes before ours.
Hey, wait! Before you go watch one of our other great videos, have you had a chance to see our new Fin Tips videos? They focus on one topic at a time, covering investing, personal finance, and anything that can quickly help you with your dough. Best of all, we'll keep it real short, because we know time is money.